Right, Rangers, grab a cuppa or a wee drum. We're diving into a multi-million-pound transfer mission led by Niels Koppen. Could Todd Cantwell be teasing a sensational return to Rangers? The Belgian FA's chaos might just secure Philippe Clement's future at the club, but what does that mean for us? And January's shaping up to be all about loan deals, but is that really the way forward? Plus, Chris Boyd's not holding back, ripping into the club over how we've handled Bailey Rice. And finally, Barry Ferguson's dropped a big hint about Kenny McLean. Could he be the answer to our midfield struggles? Stick around because we're going to break it all down, have a laugh, and maybe ruffle a few feathers along the way. Let's get into it. So, Niels Koppen wasted no time, hours into his new gig as Rangers technical director, and he's already off scouting Lenon Miller for the Scotland under-19s. The lad's only 18, but clearly has the big clubs sniffing around: Celtic, Manchester United, Manchester City, Chelsea, Liverpool, and Aston Villa. Quite the entourage, but we all know Rangers is the proper place for him. None of this Premier League bench-warming nonsense. Miller's been smashing it at Motherwell, and with Barry Ferguson and the fans banging the drum for him, it's no wonder Rangers are keen. You've got to love that he's Scottish as well. It's what we need, isn't it? A homegrown baller who understands what it means to wear that shirt. And Koppen, fair play to him, could win a few folk over here, let's be honest. Rangers haven't exactly been a fountain of wisdom when it comes to transfers in recent years. If he pulls this off, it could be a proper statement. Connor Barron's been a cracking example of what we're looking for. Young, Scottish, and full of promise. Lenon Miller could be another one of those gems if we can fend off the big money clubs. Now, here's a thought to get you talking. Should Rangers be prioritizing young Scottish talent over foreign imports, even if it means missing out on more polished players? Have your say. Todd Cantwell back on the Rangers' radar with a cryptic wee social media tease. I mean, maybe one day again, he says. Can't blame him for keeping the door open. He clearly left a bit of his heart at Rangers, despite how things unraveled with Philippe Clement. You know how it goes. Two strong personalities in a room, and suddenly it's like a Glasgow derby in there. So Cantwell's off plying his trade at Blackburn Rovers now, 11 games in, and probably finding out the championship's not exactly a walk in the park. Maybe he's realized the grass isn't always greener, or maybe he just misses the roar of Rangers fans at the stadium. Either way, it sounds like the lad wouldn't mind a reunion. But here's the thing, isn't it? His time at Rangers was a mixed bag. Sure, he had flashes of brilliance, but was he consistent enough? And that whole transfer request saga? Clement painted him as wanting out, while Todd insists he never said he didn't want to play for Rangers. Bit of a he said, she said there, isn't it? Now, here's a question to really stir the pot. Should Rangers even consider bringing Cantwell back? Or would that just be inviting drama back into the dressing room? Well, it sounds like the Belgian FA have got themselves into a right financial pickle, haven't they? Losing £9.1 million a year and unable to sack Domenico Tedesco until at least 2025. That lot couldn't sack a packet of tatty scones right now, never mind lure Philippe Clement away from Rangers. And Clement, he's just inked a contract with Rangers until 2028. He's barely had time to unpack his tactics board, and already the Belgians are being linked to him. Sounds like someone over there's been on the pine jazz. That said, Clement's not exactly had a dream start at Rangers, has he? 9 points behind Celtic and Aberdeen. Aberdeen, for crying out loud, is enough to make your pint go flat. But let's not forget, the man's walking into a rebuild, not a ready-made title-winning squad. So here's one to stir the emotions. If Rangers don't close the gap at the top by January, would you stick with Clement or cut your losses? Here we go again. Rangers being skint in January. It's becoming as predictable as the pies at the kiosk running out before halftime. So the word is we're shopping in the loan market, and not exactly with champagne tastes. More Tesco meal deal territory, isn't it? Philippe Clement's got his work cut out here. He's inherited a squad with more holes than a dodgy pair of socks, and now he's being told to patch it up with loan signing. Sure, loans can work. Look at some of the gems we've had in the past, but the reality is every decent player on the market's going to have about 5 clubs chasing. If they've got a sniff of the Premier League or top-level European football, they're hardly going to think, oh, I fancy a stint at Rangers right now. And let's not kid ourselves, the board's financial mismanagement hasn't exactly left us in a strong bargaining position. Clement's already feeling the heat because the squad's a mix of potential and mediocrity, and without new faces, he's stuck trying to polish what's already there. So here's one to get the conversation going. If the board can't provide the funds to rebuild, do the fans turn their frustration on them, or does Clement end up carrying the can? Chris Boyd's not one to hold back, is he? And this time, he's taken aim at how Rangers have handled young Bailey Rice. The lad's been at Rangers for 3 seasons after we shelled out £500,000 to Motherwell. And what's he got to show for it? 3 measly league appearances. Meanwhile, his old pal Lenon Miller's thriving at Fir Park and already being linked with big moves. It's not exactly a glowing endorsement of our youth development, is it? Boyd's right to ask the big question here. Are we stifling talent? You bring in a promising young player and then what? Stick him in the reserves and let him gather dust? It's like buying a fancy new car and leaving it in the garage. You can't blame Clement entirely. He's inherited this mess, but the constant chaos at Rangers can't be helping anyone's development. That said, rushing Rice into the first team isn't the answer either. The Premiership's no place for throwing in unprepared youngsters and hoping for the best. Ross McCausland's been given a shot, but only after proving he's ready. Maybe that's the blueprint Rice needs to follow. But here's one for you to chew on. If the club's spending big on young players like Rice but can't develop them properly, is it worth the investment, or should we focus on players who are ready to deliver now? Barry Ferguson's at it again, stoking the flames about Kenny McLean coming to Rangers. You've got to love the optimism, but let's call it what it is. Another transfer rumour that'll likely fizzle out quicker than a rain-soaked bonfire at Kelvingrove. McLean's been solid for Norwich and Scotland, no doubt about it. 242 appearances for the Canaries doesn't happen by accident, and he's got the kind of experience that Rangers midfield could definitely use. Right now, we've got the young guns like Nico Raskin, Connor Barron, and Mohamed Diomande running the show. Talent's there, but you can't teach experience, and that's what McLean would bring. But let's be real here, Rangers aren't exactly flush with cash, are they? Norwich weren't willing to part with him on the cheap in the summer, so what's changed now, and do we really need another aging player when the strategy is meant to be about building for the future? Bringing in a 32-year-old might shore things up short-term, but where's the long-term value in that? So here's one for the Rangers faithful. Would signing McLean be a smart move to steady the ship, or just another quick fix masking deeper problems at the club? Comment below what you think about the news. Don't forget to leave a like on the video to help me out. I post videos every day talking about our Rangers, so if you're not subscribed, you're missing out on the latest news. See you soon.